The night shift at New Seoul Station was always quiet. Lee Dae-hyun walked through the empty corridors of the cargo bay, checking systems and making sure everything worked properly. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He had been doing this job for 3 years now, and he knew every corner of this place. Dae-hyun was 28 years old and lived alone. He worked, went home, slept, and came back to work. That was his life. Sometimes he felt lonely, but the pay was good, and someone had to keep the station running while everyone else slept. Tonight felt different somehow. The main spaceport was busy with some important diplomatic ships arriving. Security officers were running around, too distracted to care about the cargo areas. Dae-hyun didn't mind. He preferred the quiet anyway. He was checking the pressure gauges near Bay 7 when he heard it. A small sound, like someone crying. Dae-hyun stopped and listened. There it was again, soft sobbing coming from behind the large shipping containers. He walked slowly toward the sound, his hand near his radio. The cargo bay was supposed to be empty at this hour. Behind a stack of containers marked with alien writing, he found her. A small child sat curled up against the wall. She wasn't human. Her skin had a pale blue tint, and strange glowing markings ran down her arms and face. They pulsed softly with a faint light. Her eyes were large and dark, filled with tears. She looked terrified. Dae-hyun froze. He had never seen one of her kind before, but he recognized the species from training videos. She was Valeth. They were rare in human space. Very rare. The child saw him and pressed herself harder against the wall. She made a frightened sound. "Hey, it's okay," Dae-hyun said softly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you." She didn't understand him. She spoke in a language he had never heard before, fast and panicked. Her glowing marks flickered brighter when she was scared. Dae-hyun knelt down slowly, staying several feet away from her. He could see she was hurt. Her arm had a deep cut, and dark blue blood had dried on her skin. The wound looked painful. "You're hurt," he said gently, pointing to her arm. "Let me help you." The child shook her head, not understanding his words, but understanding his gesture. She pulled her arm close to her body protectively. Dae-hyun reached for his radio to call security, but then he stopped. The security channel was chaos. People were shouting about the diplomatic convoy, about protocols, about parking assignments. No one would come help a lost alien child. Not tonight. They would tell him to file a report and deal with it in the morning. But she was hurt. She was alone. And she was scared. He made a decision that would change everything. "Okay," Dae-hyun said, more to himself than to her. "Let's get you somewhere safe." He stood up slowly and pulled off his work jacket. The night was cold, and the child was shivering. He held out the jacket toward her. She stared at it, then at him. Confused, Dae-hyun mimed putting on a jacket and pointed at her. Then he set it down on the ground between them and stepped back. After a long moment, the child reached out and grabbed the jacket. It was far too big for her, but she wrapped it around her shoulders. The warmth seemed to calm her a little. "Good," Dae-hyun said with a small smile. "That's good. Now, will you come with me? I have a first aid kit at my place. I can help your arm." He gestured for her to follow him. She didn't move at first. Her large, dark eyes studied him carefully. Then, slowly, she stood up. She was small, probably the size of a human 6-year-old. Dae-hyun started walking toward the exit, moving slowly. He looked back. The child was following him, keeping a safe distance, but following. Her glowing marks still pulsed with fear, but she was trusting him. Just a little. They made it out of the cargo bay without anyone seeing them. Dae-hyun's apartment was only 10 minutes away from the station. He lived in the worker housing complex, a boring gray building with small units, but it was clean and safe. Inside his apartment, Dae-hyun turned on the lights and went straight to the bathroom. He pulled out his first aid kit from under the sink. When he came back to the living room, the child was standing in the middle of the room, looking around at everything with wide eyes. "Sit here," Dae-hyun said, patting the couch. "Please." She understood the gesture and sat down carefully, still wearing his big jacket. Dae-hyun opened the first aid kit and pulled out antiseptic and bandages. He pointed to her arm and mimed cleaning and wrapping it. The child watched him nervously, but then extended her arm. The cut was worse up close. Dae-hyun worked carefully, cleaning the wound as gently as he could. The child whimpered, but didn't pull away. Her glowing marks dimmed a little, which he hoped meant she was calming down. "You're very brave," he told her softly as he wrapped the bandage around her arm. "There. All done." The child looked at the white bandage on her arm. Then she looked up at Dae-hyun. For the first time, she didn't look scared. She looked curious. Dae-hyun smiled at her. "Are you hungry?" He went to the kitchen and found some bread and jam. He wasn't sure if Velith could eat human food, but it was worth trying. He brought it to her on a plate. The child sniffed the bread carefully. Then she took a tiny bite. Her eyes widened, and she took another bite. Bigger this time. She was very hungry. While she ate, Dae-hyun looked around his small apartment. Where would she sleep? He only had one bedroom. Then he remembered something. He went to his closet and pulled out an old stuffed bear. It was from when he was a child. His mother had given it to him before she died. He had kept it all these years. He brought the bear to the child. She had finished eating and was looking tired. Her glowing marks were barely visible now, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Dae-hyun offered her the bear. She took it carefully, holding it like it was precious. Then she hugged it close to her chest. "You can sleep on the couch," Dae-hyun said. He grabbed a blanket and pillow from his bedroom and made a small bed for her. "It's safe here. I promise." The child lay down, still clutching the stuffed bear. Her eyes were already closing. Dae-hyun covered her with the blanket. "Good night," he whispered. He turned off the main lights, leaving only a small lamp on in case she woke up scared. Then he went to his bedroom, leaving the door open so he could hear if she needed anything. As Dae-hyun lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, he wondered what he had just done. He had broken about 5 different colony laws by bringing an unregistered alien into his home. If anyone found out, he could lose his job. Maybe worse. But when he thought about that small, scared child crying in the cargo bay, he knew he had made the right choice. He would figure out what to do in the morning. For now, she was safe and warm and sleeping peacefully. Dae-hyun woke up to the sound of his door being cut open. He sat up fast, his heart racing. The sound was sharp and angry, like metal screaming. Bright red light was coming from the living room. Someone was using a plasma cutter on his front door. He jumped out of bed and ran to the living room. The child was already awake, standing by the couch with wide, frightened eyes. The stuffed bear was still in her arms. The door fell inward with a loud crash. A figure stepped through the smoking doorway. It was a Velith woman, but nothing like the small child. She was tall, maybe 6.5 feet, with the same pale blue skin and glowing markings. But her markings were different. They were darker, more intense, and they pulsed with anger. She wore black armor that looked military-grade, and she held a large plasma pistol in her hand. The gun was pointed directly at Dae-hyun's head. "Where is she?" the woman said in perfect human language. Her voice was cold and deadly. "What did you do to my daughter?" Dae-hyun's mouth went dry. He raised his hand slowly. "I didn't do anything. I helped her. She was hurt, and—" "Mother!" the child cried out. The woman's eyes snapped to the little girl. The child ran across the room, not to hide, but straight to the armored woman. The woman caught her with one arm, pulling her close while still keeping the gun aimed at Dae-hyun. The woman spoke in the Velith language, fast and urgent. The child answered, pointing to her bandaged arm, and then to Dae-hyun. She was explaining something, her small voice high and quick. The woman's eyes narrowed. She tapped something on her armor, and Dae-hyun heard a mechanical voice translating the child's words. "Lost during the job. Olden find you. Fell and got hurt. This human found me. He gave me food and fixed my arm. He gave me his jacket and this bear. He was kind. Mother, he was kind. The gun didn't lower. Humans are never kind without a reason, the woman said, speaking to Dae-hyun now. Her accent was sharp. What do you want? Money? Information? Are you with the station security? No, Dae-hyun said quickly. I'm just a maintenance worker. I found her crying in the cargo bay. She was hurt. And alone. I brought her here because she needed help. Lies, the woman spat. You're trying to use her, trade her, sell her. No. Dae-hyun's voice was louder than he intended. Look around. Does this look like someone who traffics people? I'm nobody. I couldn't leave a hurt child alone in the cold. The woman's glowing marks flickered. She was thinking. Her eyes scanned the apartment, taking in everything. The small space, the cheap furniture, the child's makeshift bed on the couch, the empty plate from the bread and jam. She moved into the apartment, her gun still ready. The child stayed close to her mother, watching everything. The woman went to the bathroom and saw the open first aid kit. She checked the bedroom and found nothing suspicious. She looked through the kitchen, opening cabinets and drawers. Just basic food, nothing expensive, nothing illegal. She came back to the living room and stared at Dae-hyun. Her daughter was hugging her leg now, tired but safe. You harbored an unregistered alien, the woman said. That's a crime in the human colonies. You could go to prison. Why would you risk that? Dae-hyun lowered his hand slightly. Because she needed help, he said simply. I was going to call the proper authorities in the morning. I just wanted to make sure she was safe first. The woman studied him for a long moment. Her weapon finally lowered. Just a little. My name is Kira, she said. I'm her mother. And I'm an assassin. Dae-hyun's stomach dropped. An assassin, of course. That explained the armor, the weapon, the way she moved like a predator. I was working a contract on this station, Kira continued. Things went wrong. I had to leave fast. Rin was supposed to stay hidden on my ship, but she followed me. She looked down at her daughter with something like sadness. She always follows me. I'm sorry, the child, Rin, said quietly in the Velith language. The translator on Kira's armor repeated it in human language. Kira sighed and touched her daughter's head gently. Then her expression hardened again. She looked at Dae-hyun. I should kill you, she said matter-of-factly. You've seen my face. You know I was here. You're a witness. Dae-hyun's hands started shaking. He tried to keep his voice steady. If you were going to kill me, you would have done it already. Kira almost smiled. Almost. Perhaps. Then her communication device on her wrist started beeping. Loud and urgent. Kira's expression changed from dangerous to alarmed. She checked the device, and her glowing marks pulsed brightly. No, she whispered. Then louder. No, no, no. What's wrong? Dae-hyun asked. Kira looked at him. And for the first time, he saw something other than anger in her eyes. He saw fear. My employer found out the job went wrong, she said. They've put a bounty on me. On Rin. On anyone who helped us or saw us. She gestured at Dae-hyun. That includes you. The station's surveillance cameras saw me entering this building. Dae-hyun felt his blood turn cold. What kind of bounty? The kind where they send hunters, Kira said. Professional ones. They'll be here soon. Maybe minutes. Then you need to run, Dae-hyun said. Get out of here. Take your ship and go. Kira shook her head. My ship is being watched. They'll have people there already. We're trapped. We? Dae-hyun said. Yes, we, Kira said sharply. You're marked now. If I leave you here, they'll torture you for information, then kill you. You helped my daughter. That makes you. She struggled with the word. A witness. A liability. And now, whether I like it or not, someone I need to keep alive. Dae-hyun's mind was racing. Bounty hunters. Assassins. This was insane. Yesterday his biggest problem was a broken pressure valve. What do we do? He asked. Kira looked at him with new eyes, calculating. You said you're a maintenance worker. You know this station? Yes, Dae-hyun said. Every level, every system. The service tunnels, Kira said. The maintenance passages. Can you navigate them? Dae-hyun nodded. I built half of them. The human construction team designed this station with redundancy systems. Tunnels everywhere. Most aliens don't use them because they're too small and cramped. Kira's eyes narrowed, thinking fast. They'll expect me to fight or run to the docks. They won't expect me to go down into maintenance tunnels. It's a maze down there, Dae-hyun said. If you don't know the way, you'll get lost. Kira looked at him steadily. Then I need you alive to guide us. Rin tugged on her mother's armor. Mother, I trust him. He's good. Kira looked down at her daughter, then back at Dae-hyun. She made a decision. Here's the deal, human, she said. You help us escape this station, and I'll make sure you survive. Refuse, and you die here. When the hunters come. That's not much of a choice, Dae-hyun said. It's the only choice you have. Dae-hyun looked at little Rin, still holding the stuffed bear. He thought about leaving her to die. He couldn't do it. Fine, he said. I'll help you. But you have to promise me that Rin stays safe. No matter what happens. Kira studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Agreed. Good. Dae-hyun said. He went to his closet and pulled out his work uniform and tool belt. Then we need to move now. Get your gear ready. Kira checked her weapons. She had 2 pistols, a knife, and some kind of device he didn't recognize. How far to the nearest tunnel access? 2 floors down, Dae-hyun said. We can take the emergency stairs. They'll have the elevators monitored, Kira agreed. Dae-hyun grabbed a backpack and threw in water bottles, energy bars, and his portable comm unit. He looked at his small, quiet apartment one last time. He had lived here for 3 years. It was simple, but it was his. Now he was leaving it behind to run for his life with an alien assassin and her daughter. Ready? Kira asked. No, Dae-hyun said honestly. But let's go anyway. They moved to the door. Kira went first, her weapon ready. Rin held her mother's hand with one hand and the stuffed bear with the other. Dae-hyun came last, his heart pounding. As they stepped into the hallway, an alarm started blaring somewhere in the building. The emergency stairwell was cold and metal. Their footsteps echoed as they ran down, level after level. Dae-hyun led the way, with Kira and Rin close behind. The alarm was still blaring somewhere above them. How many hunters will they send? Dae-hyun asked between breaths. At least 6, Kira said. She wasn't even breathing hard. Maybe more. The bounty is high. They reached the maintenance level. Dae-hyun pulled out his access card and swiped it at the door. The light turned green, and the door opened with a hiss. The maintenance level was dark. Only emergency lights glowed in the corners, casting everything in a dim red color. Huge pipes ran along the walls and ceiling. The air smelled like oil and metal. This way, Dae-hyun said. He led them through the maze of equipment and machinery. This was his world. He knew every pipe, every valve, every turn. The tunnels were built small on purpose. Humans designed them for human-sized workers. Most alien species were bigger and found these spaces uncomfortable. There, Dae-hyun pointed to a circular hatch in the floor. That leads to the sub-level tunnels. They run under the entire station. Kira knelt down and examined the hatch. Good. They won't expect us to go deeper. Most people run up, toward the docks. Dae-hyun opened the hatch. A ladder led down into darkness. I'll go first. Rin can come after me. Then you. He climbed down the ladder. It was a long way. At the bottom, he turned on his work light. The tunnel stretched in both directions, narrow and low. An adult would have to crouch to walk through here. Rin came down next, moving carefully on the ladder. Dae-hyun caught her when she reached the bottom. She was shaking a little, But she didn't cry. She was brave. This small child, Kira, came down last, pulling the hatch closed behind her. In the darkness, her glowing marks provided extra light. They pulsed steadily, brighter than before. "You're glowing more," Dae-hyun observed. "Adrenaline," Kira explained. "Our marks respond to our emotions. Right now, I'm ready to fight." "Let's hope we don't have to," Dae-hyun said. "Follow me and stay quiet." They moved through the tunnel, walking quickly but carefully. The tunnel was filled with pipes, cables, and junction boxes. Everything hummed with power. This was the nervous system of the station, the hidden infrastructure that kept everything running. Dae-hyun knew exactly where they were going. There was an old service station about 2 kilometers from here, abandoned when the new systems were installed. It had a communications terminal. If they could reach it, they could call for help. But who would help them? Station security was probably working with the bounty hunters by now. The hunters had money and influence. Dae-hyun had neither. "Stop," Kira whispered suddenly. They all froze. Kira tilted her head, listening to something Dae-hyun couldn't hear. Her hand moved to her weapon. "Someone's in the tunnels," she said quietly. "Behind us. Maybe 300 meters. How can you tell?" Dae-hyun whispered. "Velith have excellent hearing," Kira said. "They're moving fast. They found our entry point. Then we run," Dae-hyun said. They started moving faster, no longer trying to be quiet. Speed was more important now. Rin struggled to keep up with her short legs. Dae-hyun picked her up and carried her. She weighed almost nothing. "Thank you," Rin whispered, holding tight to his neck. They ran through the tunnels, turning left, then right, then left again. Dae-hyun was using his knowledge of the system to lead them on a complicated path. Even if the hunters were following, they would get confused by the turns. "There's a vertical shaft ahead," Dae-hyun said. "We need to climb up 1 level, then cross to a different tunnel system." They reached the shaft. It was a narrow tube with metal rungs built into the wall. Maintenance workers used it to move between levels. Kira looked up the shaft. "How far?" 20 meters, Dae-hyun said. "You go first with Rin," Kira ordered. "I'll cover the rear." Dae-hyun adjusted Rin on his back. "Hold on tight," he told her. She wrapped her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. He started climbing. The rungs were cold and his hands were sweating, but he climbed steadily. Rin was silent, trusting him completely. Below, he heard the sound of weapons fire. Bright plasma bolts lit up the tunnel. Kira was shooting at someone. "Keep going," she shouted up at him. Dae-hyun climbed faster. His arms were burning, but he didn't stop. Rin needed to be safe. That was all that mattered. He reached the top and pulled himself onto the platform. Rin climbed off his back, and he immediately looked down the shaft. Kira was climbing now, moving incredibly fast. Below her, Dae-hyun could see figures entering the shaft. The hunters. "Come on," Dae-hyun urged. Kira reached the platform and immediately turned, firing down the shaft. The hunters took cover. "Move," Kira commanded. They ran into the new tunnel. This one was even smaller, forcing them to crouch as they moved. Behind them, they could hear the hunters climbing the shaft. "How many?" Dae-hyun asked. "I saw 3, Kira said. "But there will be more. They're coordinating. They'll try to cut us off. Then we need to be unpredictable," Dae-hyun said. He was thinking fast, using his knowledge of the station. "There's a coolant processing room nearby. It has multiple exits. We can lose them there. Lead the way." They reached the processing room. It was a large chamber filled with huge tanks and pipes. The coolant made a rushing sound as it flowed through the system. The room was freezing cold. "The exits are on the far side," Dae-hyun said, pointing. 3 different tunnels, all going in different directions. Kira looked at the room, calculating. "They'll expect us to run straight through. We need to do something they won't expect." "Like what?" Kira smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Like setting a trap." She looked at the coolant tanks. Can you rupture one of these remotely? Dae-hyun understood immediately. Yes. The emergency release valve. It's controlled from that panel. He pointed to a control box on the wall. Perfect, Kira said. Here's what we do. You and Rin go through the middle tunnel. I'll stay here and wait for them. When they enter the room, I'll trigger the coolant release. The sudden flood will disorient them. Give me a chance to take them out. That's too dangerous, Dae-hyun said. You'll be outnumbered. I'm always outnumbered, Kira said. I'm an assassin. This is what I do. She looked at him seriously. Your job is to protect Rin. Get her to safety. That's the deal. Dae-hyun wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He couldn't fight trained hunters. He could barely fight anyone, but he could protect Rin. Okay, he said. But you better survive this. Rin needs her mother. Kira's expression softened for just a moment. She looked at her daughter and touched her cheek gently. I will come back, she promised in the Velith language. I always do. Rin hugged her mother tightly. Be careful. Always, Kira said. She gently pushed Rin toward Dae-hyun. Now go. Quickly. Dae-hyun took Rin's hand and led her toward the middle tunnel. Before they entered, he looked back. Kira was already moving into position. Her weapons ready. She looked calm and focused. A professional. Come on, Rin, Dae-hyun said gently. Your mother will be fine. They entered the tunnel and started moving away from the processing room. Behind them, Dae-hyun heard voices shouting. The hunters had found the room. Then, he heard the sound of rushing water, followed by weapons, fire, and screaming. Rin squeezed his hand tighter, her glowing marks pulsing with worry. She'll be okay, Dae-hyun said, hoping it was true. She's strong. They kept moving through the tunnel, putting distance between them and the fight. The sounds grew fainter. After several minutes of walking, Rin spoke quietly. Why are you helping us? Dae-hyun looked down at her. In the dim light, her glowing marks made her face look gentle and sad. She was just a child caught in a terrible situation. Because it's the right thing to do, Dae-hyun said. You're in trouble, and I can help. That's enough reason. Most people wouldn't help, Rin said. Mother says most people only care about themselves. Most people aren't given the chance to be better, Dae-hyun said. Maybe your mother has seen the worst in people. But that doesn't mean everyone is bad. Rin thought about this. I think you're good, she said finally. Thank you, Dae-hyun said. I think you're pretty brave. They walked in silence for a while. Dae-hyun was leading them toward the old service station. It wasn't much farther now. Then they heard footsteps behind them. Running footsteps. Dae-hyun turned, his heart racing. Was it the hunters? Had they gotten past Kira? A figure emerged from the darkness. It was Kira. She was covered in coolant and had a cut on her arm, but she was alive. Mother! Rin cried out and ran to her. Kira caught her daughter and held her close. I'm here. I'm okay. The hunters? Dae-hyun asked. 3 down, Kira said. But there are more. They're regrouping. We have maybe 10 minutes before they find our trail again. Then we keep moving, Dae-hyun said. The communications terminal is close. Who are you planning to call? Kira asked. Dae-hyun took a breath. My sister, he said. She's a captain in the Human Colonial Defense Force. If anyone can help us, it's her. Kira looked at him with surprise. Your sister is military? Yes, Dae-hyun said. We can trust her. Kira nodded slowly. Then let's hope she answers. They moved together through the tunnels, 3 unlikely allies running for their lives in the darkness beneath the station. The old service station was exactly as Dae-hyun remembered it. Dusty, abandoned, filled with outdated equipment that nobody had bothered to remove. A single light flickered overhead, barely working, but the communications terminal was still there, mounted on the wall. It was old technology, but it should still work. Dae-hyun rushed to the terminal and powered it on. The screen glowed weakly. Come on, he muttered. Typing in his access code, Kira stood by the entrance, her weapon ready. Rin sat on an old crate, still holding the stuffed bear. She looked exhausted. They had been running for almost 2 hours. The terminal beeped. It was working. Daehyun quickly entered his sister's personal communication code, the one she gave him for emergencies only. The screen showed, connecting, for what felt like forever. Then a face appeared. A woman in her 30s, wearing a Colonial Defense Force uniform. She had the same eyes as Daehyun, the same serious expression. Daehyun? Captain Lee Ji-woo said, surprised. What's wrong? Why are you using emergency protocols? Ji-woo, I need help, Daehyun said quickly. I'm in serious trouble. There are bounty hunters trying to kill me. His sister's expression hardened immediately. Explain. Fast. Daehyun told her everything in short, quick sentences. The lost child. The assassin mother. The bounty. The hunters. All of it. Ji-woo listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. You're asking me to protect a wanted criminal and her child, Ji-woo said finally. Do you understand how serious this is? Yes, Daehyun said. But they'll kill Rin. She's just a child. She hasn't done anything wrong. Ji-woo looked at someone off screen, then back at her brother. Where are you now? Sub-level maintenance tunnels, Sector 7B. My ship is 3 hours away from your station, Ji-woo said. Can you survive that long? I don't know, Daehyun admitted. Kira stepped into view of the camera. Captain, she said formally. I am Kira. I know what I am. I know what I've done. But my daughter is innocent. If you can give her sanctuary, I will surrender myself to human authority. Ji-woo studied Kira carefully. You're offering to trade your freedom for your daughter's safety? Yes, Kira said without hesitation. Ji-woo was quiet again. Then she sighed. My brother has always been too kind for his own good. And apparently, it runs in the family. She looked at Daehyun. Here's what I can do. I'm sending you coordinates to an old industrial sector on your station. It's been abandoned for years. Get there and fortify your position. My ship will arrive as fast as possible. Daehyun's terminal beeped. The coordinates appeared on screen. Thank you, Daehyun said. Thank you, Ji-woo. Don't thank me yet, his sister said. Just survive. That's an order. The transmission ended. Kira looked at the coordinates. The industrial sector. That's 5 kilometers from here through the tunnels. Can we make it? Daehyun asked. We don't have a choice, Kira said. She picked up Rin. Let's move. They left the service station and continued through the tunnels. Daehyun was exhausted. His legs hurt, his arms hurt, everything hurt, but he kept going. The tunnels eventually opened into a large corridor. This was the old industrial sector. Years ago, this area had been full of factories and processing plants. But when the new automated facilities were built on the other side of the station, this entire sector was abandoned. Now it was just empty buildings and broken machinery. This way, Daehyun said, following the coordinates. He led them to a large warehouse. The door was locked, but his access card still worked. The door ground open slowly. Inside was a huge space filled with old equipment, manufacturing machines, storage containers, industrial tools. Everything was covered in dust. This will work, Kira said, looking around. Multiple entry points, but we can block most of them. High ground there. She pointed to a catwalk above. Plenty of cover. This is defensible. You think they'll find us here? Daehyun asked. They'll find us, Kira said with certainty. The hunters are good. They'll track us eventually. Then we prepare, Daehyun said. He was surprised by how calm his voice sounded. Kira smiled slightly. You're learning. They spent the next hour setting up. Kira showed Daehyun how to create choke points by moving heavy equipment to block certain doorways. They left only 2 entrances open. Both easy to watch. Daehyun found the warehouse's power systems and managed to get some lights working. Not all of them, but enough to see. Rin helped where she could, carrying small tools and watching the doors. She was scared, but she stayed brave. There, Kira said finally. This is as good as we can make it. Daehyun looked at their makeshift fortress. It wasn't much, but maybe it would be enough. Then the lights went out. All of them. The entire warehouse went dark except for Kira's glowing marks. They're here, Kira whispered. A voice echoed through the warehouse, deep and rough. Kira, we know you're in there. You've caused us a lot of trouble. Kira's jaw tightened. Vosk, she said quietly to Daehyun. He's a Kryn mercenary. One of the best hunters in this sector. Come out, and we'll make it quick. Vosk continued. You and the child. As for the human, well, he's just a bonus at this point. Daehyun felt fear crawling up his spine. This was really happening. They were going to die here. Then he felt small hands grab his. Rin was holding his hand in the darkness. Don't be afraid, she whispered. My mother is very strong. Kira moved to the catwalk, taking a position above the main entrance. She looked down at Daehyun. Stay with Rin. Protect her if I fall. What are you going to do? Daehyun asked. What I do best, Kira said. Hunt. She fired a shot into the darkness. Someone screamed. Then everything exploded into chaos. Plasma fire lit up the warehouse like lightning. Daehyun grabbed Rin and pulled her behind a large storage container. Bolts of energy slammed into the metal around them. He could see figures moving in the darkness. 6 of them. Just like Kira predicted. They were spreading out, trying to surround their position. Kira was moving on the catwalk, shooting and repositioning constantly. She was fast, like a shadow. Every shot she fired found a target. But there were too many of them. Daehyun looked around desperately. He needed to help somehow. But he wasn't a fighter. He was an engineer. He fixed things. He built things. He built things. Daehyun's eyes fell on an old plasma welder nearby. Then, on the magnetic cargo lifts. Then, on the coolant tanks for the old machinery. He had an idea. Stay here, he told Rin. Don't move. He crawled to the plasma welder and turned it on. The tool hummed to life, its torch glowing bright blue. He aimed it at a coolant pipe running along the wall. The pipe burst, spraying freezing coolant across the floor. 2 hunters stepped into it and slipped, falling hard. Kira shot them both while they were down. 4 left, she called out. Daehyun ran to the control panel for the magnetic lifts. These huge machines were designed to move heavy cargo. He activated one and programmed it to move in a specific pattern. The lift shot forward on its track, slamming into a hunter who was trying to flank their position. The impact threw him across the warehouse. 3! Kira shouted. She sounded impressed. Vosk's voice roared in anger. Kill the human. He's too clever. Plasma fire concentrated on Daehyun's position. He dove behind a machine as bolts tore through the air where he'd been standing. His heart was pounding. This was insane. He was fighting trained killers with industrial equipment, but it was working. He saw another opportunity. An old hydraulic press was positioned above one of the entry points. If he could activate it remotely, he sprinted to another control panel, dodging plasma fire. His fingers flew over the controls. The hydraulic press groaned and started moving downward. A hunter ran underneath it, chasing after Daehyun. The press came down. Daehyun turned away, not wanting to see. 2 left, Kira called. Just Vosk and 1 other. Vosk had had enough. The massive Kryn warrior stepped into the open, his armor absorbing Kira's shots. He was huge, almost 7 feet tall, covered in thick scales and battle scars. Enough tricks, he roared. He raised a heavy weapon, something that looked like it could punch through walls. He aimed it at the storage container where Rin was hiding. No, Daehyun screamed. He looked around desperately. There, an old crane control. He slammed his hand on the emergency release. Above Vosk, a shipping container that had been suspended from the ceiling for years suddenly dropped. The Kryn warrior looked up just in time to see 2 tons of metal falling toward him. The impact shook the entire warehouse. Silence fell. The last hunter, seeing his leader dead and all his team gone, turned and ran. Kira let him go. Dae-hyun collapsed against the wall, shaking. He couldn't believe what had just happened. He had just helped fight off 6 trained bounty hunters using maintenance equipment. Dae-hyun. Rin ran to him and hugged him tightly. Kira climbed down from the catwalk. She had a few new burns on her armor but looked otherwise fine. She walked over to Dae-hyun and stared at him. "That was," she started. "Stupid?" Dae-hyun suggested weakly. "Impressive," Kira finished. "You fight like a human. No honor, no rules. Just survive. It's effective." "Thanks," Dae-hyun said. Kira almost smiled. "You did well." Then her communication device beeped. She checked it. "Your sister's ship is on approach. 15 minutes. Dae-hyun let out a long breath. "We made it." "Yes," Kira said quietly. She looked at her daughter, then at Dae-hyun. "We made it. We made it." IY. Coming in. Captain Lee Ji-woo's ship was called the Morning Star. It was a Colonial Defense Force frigate, sleek and powerful. When it docked at New Seoul Station, it did so with full military authority. No one questioned it. No one dared. Dae-hyun, Kira, and Rin were escorted aboard by armed soldiers. They moved quickly through the corridors, away from the station, and the remaining bounty hunters who might still be looking for them. Once inside, they were taken to a secure medical bay. A doctor checked Rin first, making sure she was healthy. The small Velith girl sat quietly, still holding the stuffed bear, while the doctor scanned her. "She's fine," the doctor said. "Tired and scared, but physically healthy. The wound on her arm is healing well." Kira visibly relaxed at those words. Dae-hyun was checked next. He had bruises, cuts, and was completely exhausted. The doctor gave him something for the pain and told him to rest. Then it was Kira's turn. She had burn marks from plasma fire and several cuts. The doctor worked silently, cleaning and bandaging the wounds. Kira didn't flinch once. When the doctor finished, Ji-woo entered the medical bay. She was in full uniform, her expression professional and stern. "Leave us," she told the doctor and guards. They obeyed immediately. Ji-woo looked at the 3 people in front of her. Her brother, battered and exhausted. A deadly assassin with glowing marks. A small child holding a toy bear. "Well," Ji-woo said, "this is quite a situation." "I know," Dae-hyun said, "and I'm sorry for dragging you into it." Ji-woo shook her head. "You're my brother. You don't apologize for asking for help." She looked at Kira. "But we need to talk about what happens next." Kira stood, placing herself between Ji-woo and Rin. A mother's instinct. "I know what I offered. I will surrender to human authority if you guarantee my daughter's safety." "That was your offer," Ji-woo agreed. "But I have some questions first." She gestured to chairs. "Please. Sit. All of you." They sat. Rin climbed onto her mother's lap. Ji-woo pulled up a data pad. "I did some research on you, Kira. Your reputation is extensive. You've worked for crime syndicates, warlords, and corporations. You've killed a lot of people." "Yes," Kira said simply. She didn't deny it. "But your last job," Ji-woo continued, "the one that went wrong. I found the details. You were hired to eliminate a family, a human family on a colony world. The father had testified against your employer." Kira's jaw tightened. "Yes, but you didn't do it," Ji-woo said. "According to my sources, you got into the house, saw the children sleeping, and walked away. That's why your employer turned on you." Kira was silent for a moment. Then she spoke quietly. "They were young. 2 children. Younger than Rin. They hadn't done anything wrong. I couldn't." She stopped, holding her daughter tighter. "I couldn't do it." Ji-woo nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." She put down the data pad. "Here's what I'm willing to offer. Sanctuary in human space for both you and Rin, but you will have to stand trial for your crimes in human territories. No, Rin cried out. They'll put Mother in prison. Possibly, Jiwoo said honestly. But the courts will take into account that she saved lives by refusing that last contract, and she helped defend a human civilian. She glanced at Daehyun. That counts for something. Kira thought about this. What happens to Rin while I'm on trial? She'll be placed with a guardian, Jiwoo said. Someone trustworthy. Daehyun suddenly spoke up. I'll do it. Everyone looked at him. What? Jiwoo said. I'll be Rin's guardian, Daehyun said. Until the trial is over, until everything is settled. She knows me, she trusts me. Daehyun, Kira said, shocked. You can't. You have your job, your life. This would turn everything upside down. My life was pretty boring anyway, Daehyun said with a small smile. Besides, Rin gave me her stuffed bear to hold on to. I think that means we're friends. Rin looked at him with wide eyes. You would take care of me? Of course, Daehyun said. If your mother agrees. Kira stared at him for a long moment. This human, who had risked everything to help a stranger, who fought bounty hunters with maintenance equipment, who was now offering to care for her daughter. Why? Kira asked. Why do you keep helping us? You don't owe us anything. Daehyun thought about how to answer. When I found Rin in that cargo bay, she was alone and scared and hurt. I could have walked away, called security and forgotten about it, but I didn't because... He struggled to find the right words. Because she needed help, and I could give it. That's enough. It's always been enough. Jiwoo smiled slightly. Sounds like something our mother would have said. She taught me well, Daehyun said. Kira looked down at her daughter. What do you think, little star? Would you be okay staying with Daehyun for a while? Rin nodded. He's kind. He gave me his jacket and his bear and his food. He protected me from the bad people. I trust him. Kira's eyes were bright, though she didn't cry. Then it's decided. She looked at Jiwoo. I accept your offer. I will stand trial. But please, make sure Rin is safe. I give you my word, Jiwoo said. As a captain of the Colonial Defense Force, over the next few hours, the details were worked out. Kira would be held in protective custody, not a regular prison. The trial would be fair. Rin would stay with Daehyun on a human colony world far from the crime syndicates. The Morning Star would take them all to a safe location. As the ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Daehyun found himself in the observation deck. He stared out at the stars, still processing everything that had happened. He had left his quiet, boring life behind. Now he was going to be a guardian to an alien child. His apartment was destroyed. His job was gone. Everything had changed. But when he thought about Rin's small hand holding his, about her trust and her bravery, he didn't regret any of it. Quite a view, a voice said. Daehyun turned. Kira was standing there, still in her armor but without her weapons. She looked different without them. Less dangerous. More tired. Your sister has a nice ship, Kira said, joining him at the window. She's worked hard for it, Daehyun said. They stood in silence for a moment. I want to say thank you, Kira said finally. For everything. For saving Rin. For fighting beside me. For offering to care for her. You don't need to thank me, Daehyun said. Yes, I do, Kira insisted. In my world, kindness is rare. Trust is rarer. What you did, it's not normal. Not for most species. Maybe that's the problem, Daehyun said. Maybe kindness should be normal, Kira smiled, a real smile this time. You humans are strange. You're physically weak. You don't have natural armor or weapons. Your senses are limited. But you survive anyway. You thrive. Do you know why? Why? Daehyun asked. Because you're stubborn, Kira said. Stubborn about hope. Stubborn about helping each other. Stubborn about doing what's right even when it's hard. She looked at him. That's your real strength. Not muscles or claws or advanced technology. Just stubborn goodness. One? Daehyun laughed. Stubborn goodness. I like that. The door opened, and Rin ran in. She had been given clean clothes by the ship's crew, and had her arm properly treated. She looked much better. Mother, Daehyun, come see. And they want to play with me. Kira knelt down and hugged her daughter. That's wonderful. Little star. Go play. Be happy. Rin hugged her mother tight, then ran to Daehyun and hugged him too. Thank you for the bear, she said. I'll take good care of him. I know you will, Daehyun said. Rin ran off to find the other children, her glowing marks pulsing with happiness. Kira watched her go, a soft expression on her face. I've spent years running, hiding, killing, all to keep her safe. But I never gave her what she really needed. What's that? Daehyun asked. A home, Kira said. A place where she can just be a child. Where she doesn't have to be afraid. She looked at Daehyun. Promise me, you'll give her that. Even if I end up in prison for the rest of my life, promise me she'll have a home. I promise, Daehyun said without hesitation. Kira reached into her armor and pulled out something small, a bracelet made of woven metallic thread, glowing faintly. This is traditional for my people. We give it to those who have earned our trust and gratitude. She handed it to him. Daehyun took it carefully. It was warm to the touch. Thank you. If you ever need help, Kira said. If you ever need someone who can fight, who can protect, who can do the hard things, call me. No matter where I am, I'll answer. Even from prison? Daehyun asked. Kira grinned. It was almost mischievous. I'm an assassin. Prison is more of a suggestion than a permanent situation. Daehyun laughed. I'll keep that in mind. They stood together, watching the stars blur as the ship jumped to light speed. Behind them, the dangerous station and the bounty hunters faded into the distance. Ahead was uncertainty, trials and challenges, and a completely different life. But also, ahead was possibility. A child who needed a home, a mother who chose to be better, and a man who proved that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. In the recreation room, they could hear children laughing. Rin's voice was among them, bright and happy. Kira's glowing marks pulsed softly. She's laughing. I haven't heard her laugh in months. She's safe now, Daehyun said. She can be a kid. Thanks to you, Kira said. Thanks to us, Daehyun corrected. You chose to protect her instead of finishing that contract. You chose to trust a stranger. Those were hard choices. You make it sound easy, Kira said. It's not easy, Daehyun agreed. But it's worth it. The ship flew on through the stars, carrying 3 souls who had found each other in the darkness. An engineer who became a protector, an assassin who chose redemption, and a child who reminded them both what they were fighting for. Above all, it was a story about humanity's greatest strength. The stubborn belief that kindness matters, that everyone deserves a chance, and that doing the right thing is always worth the cost. Days later, when they arrived at the colony world that would be their new home, Daehyun stepped off the ship with Rin holding his hand. Kira was escorted to the legal facilities, where her trial would eventually take place. But before she left, she knelt down one more time to hug her daughter. Be good for Daehyun, she whispered. I will, mother, Rin promised. And you be good too. Kira laughed through tears. I'll try, little star. I'll try. She stood and looked at Daehyun one last time. No words were needed. Just a nod of understanding between 2 people who had been through hell together. Then she was gone. Daehyun felt Rin squeeze his hand. He looked down at her. Are you ready? He asked. Rin nodded, her glowing marks pulsing steadily. I'm ready. Together, they walked into their new life, carrying hope with them like a light in the darkness. And somewhere in the galaxy, the story spread. The story of a human who took in a lost alien child, who fought assassins and bounty hunters with nothing but creativity and courage, who proved that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or strength, it was compassion, and it was unstoppable. For now, they were safe. But Daehyun knew the hardest part was still coming. What happened next? Run, Daehyun said. And they ran. Dae-hyun closed his eyes, not knowing that in just a few hours, his door would be blown open, and his life would never be the same again.